Ronnie Dale, four-wheeling at westernaustralia.com, and welcome to the Goldfields and a video on spare parts. I'm out in the Goldfields, pretty remote, and I'm having engine troubles. I need some parts. I haven't seen anyone for 4 days. So what do you do if you don't bring spare parts? Well, I don't have any issues, thankfully, but what do you do if you have issues? You need your spare parts. So in this video, I'm going to run you through what type of spare parts that I recommend you bring and what I have brought out here, especially if you're traveling on your own. So stay tuned. It's a strong box, so it's good for nuts and bolts. That's your first port of call for spare parts. This is what you need. If you have a metric vehicle, bring metric nuts and bolts. Bring ones that are relative to your vehicle. Figure out which ones are important. Just buy them at the bolt shop, they're pretty cheap. And also anything, say you've upgraded exhaust or something, just bring the spare bolts that you take off it. You don't need all of them, just a few of them, because if you lose a bolt, then you have it, there's no issue. Now an extra tip, if you lose a bolt or a nut on your vehicle and you don't have the spare size, well, you might find something else on your vehicle that has one that's not important, that you can take it off and put it on to where it is required. To basic spares. Fuel filter, one of your most important spares. You should even carry this if you drive in the city. You can get dodgy fuel anywhere, like bad fuel. And especially with diesel engines and all the new ones, they're very sensitive. So fuel filter, I've had this situation happen to me 3 times so far. I've had to change my fuel filter out in the bush somewhere. Stepping up in the scale, wheel bearings. Do you really need wheel bearings? Yes and no. If you go remote travel, definitely. Look, if you are still going quite remote but not that long, I still think you should have wheel bearings, because if a wheel bearing fails on your vehicle, it's what turns your wheel. Without a wheel bearing, your wheel can't turn. You're kind of stuffed. You're a sitting duck. But if you bring wheel bearings, make sure you also bring grease so you can actually grease them up and put them in, and you need your tools as well. All the tools relative to it. So this isn't about tools, this video is about spare parts. So there'll be a link at the end of the video so you know what tools you will or might need out in the bush. On wheels, wheel nuts. You should really have spare wheel nuts. Now I carry 5 because I have a 5-stud pattern, so should I lose a whole wheel? But you're probably thinking, hang on, but what if you snap your studs? Then bring spare studs. 5 spare studs, 5 spare wheel nuts. Say you don't have spare wheel studs and you shear a whole wheel off, all the studs are rooted, screwed up. Then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take every single wheel off and then pull 1 stud out of each wheel and then put 4 studs on your last wheel, or make it up. Then you got 4 wheels that are minus 1 stud. That is what you're going to have to do to get back out of the bush. So I'd suggest carrying wheel studs. They don't take up much room, and wheel nuts. Another thing about wheel nuts and wheel studs, like how important that they will be, you go to a tyre shop, they use their rattle guns. Some places they're not the smartest people, they just whack it on there, 400 Newton force, and then you can't get them off. And when you do get them off, they're snapped or they start spinning. Wheel nuts and wheel studs. Engine parts. Now, I'm not going to the extreme here, bringing alternators and all that kind of stuff, but look, if you have a alternator that's susceptible or has been ruined in the past from mud ingest and stuff like that, you can bring a brush kit, which you may be able to swap out on your vehicle a lot easier rather than carrying a whole alternator. I do recommend you carry are your belts. Now my vehicle in particular, luckily enough for me, is a single belt. So bring a serpentine belt, bring all spare belts. So if you have a vehicle that has 3 spare belts, bring the belts. And also, should you lose a belt on one of those multi-belt systems, you may find that a different vehicle, even different make and model, may have a belt from their air conditioning that they don't need, that may fit your water pump or whatever is wrecked. So you may have a get out of jail free card there, but just get yourself some belts, they don't take up much room. Hoses. Fuel hose as well is probably a good one. Now, I don't carry extra fuel hose because I have sub tanks. I can steal the hose from a sub tank if I need to. So these are radiator hoses. These are the main ones in my vehicle. Highly recommend you have some as well. Now, I'll probably be fine because I've only got 100,000 kilometers on my vehicle, but I still carry them. And I recommend if you have a vehicle that's older than 200,000, just get all your pipes. So we've covered a couple of things, like radiator hoses, where you're going to need liquid to put back in it, because if you've busted a hose, obviously you're losing some liquid. So radiator in particular, coolant. Now this coolant in particular is a concentrate. Now you can buy coolant that's not concentrate, but you need a lot more of that if you've lost a lot. So with concentrate, you're going to have heaps. So that's a good one to bring. Concentrate, coolant, if you're going to bring coolant. Now, do I bring all this stuff? Yes, I bring coolant, I bring oil, I bring diff oil, I bring all the essential things. Normally they're spread out between us, but because most of the people I travel with aren't with me out here in the goldfields, I must carry everything myself. Now, one thing I have left at home is the power steering fluid and the automatic trans fluid, because it's not really something that I need. If my power steering fluid should go, Graham, who's with us on this trip in the 200, he has an automatic transmission. He actually carries transmission fluid, so I'm all right there. So that's another way you can do it. So motor oil, make sure it's the right one for your vehicle. It's the same one that's in your car. So speak to your mechanic. What are you using in my car? That's what you want to use. This is what I use. All right, so a bit of post research and into the oil. Now with your spare oil, you're probably wondering if this oil is suited for diesel engines, is it suitable for a gasoline engine or petrol engine? Yeah, sometimes they are. On the back of this one, I've noticed it says here, all naturally aspirated and turbocharged 4-stroke diesel and gasoline engines in which API CJ4/SM. Now that there probably doesn't mean much, but the C is standing for diesel engines, and the S is standing for spark, so spark plug motors. So that is your petrol engine. Now there is a lot more detail I can go into, but this is a video about spare parts. But it's good to know that a lot of these oils you can use in both gasoline and diesel engines. Differential oil. This is where things get interesting. This one here in particular is, where is it? Gear oil LSD. So limited slip differential. All right, there's a difference between a limited slip differential and a regular differential. What you can't use in a LSD differential is a non-LSD oil. You need LSD oil in your differential. Also, most vehicles with diff lockers will need LSD oil. Mine needs it front and rear. So if you're going to bring any oil, bring LSD oil, because it'll work on most vehicles. All right, so a bit more on the difference between LSD oil and non-LSD oil. Non-LSD oil is just straight up gearing oil. LSD oil has friction modifier additives to it, which means it allows the LSD to work properly. There are clutch plates and other components inside an LSD diff for it to work proper, which means it needs this grade of oil. Friction modifier additive, which is in LSD oil. Also, even though it might say gear oil LSD, make sure that the viscosity and the details down here match what your vehicle should be using as well. That is another important thing. But if you're in the middle of nowhere and you need some gear oil, someone has LSD oil, you're pretty much 99% sure that you'll be okay to use it to get out of there, and then reassess what you need afterwards. So back on to some fluids, because there was one fluid I forgot to mention while out in the goldfields, and I've done a bit of research on it too, because there were some other interesting facts, and that is with brake fluid. Now, brake fluid has some properties in it, and it makes it hygroscopic, which means that the properties in it, or just the molecular structure of it, so to say, will actually draw moisture from the atmosphere into the brake fluid, which means it reduces its performance. It will also reduce the boiling point of it, the anti-boil, which means that it'll boil at a lower temperature, and if it accumulates in your lines, it can actually lead to corrosion as well. So why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this because if you have a sealed bottle, you're right as rain, you're good to go. It's a good spare. But if this bottle here was open and it's been sitting in my garage for, say, X amount of months, definitely a year is not good, 2 years is even worse. If you've cracked this bottle and it's been sitting there for that long, it would have absorbed moisture from the atmosphere, even if the lid's on. Now these have a seal on top with a lid, so it is sealed. Brake fluid, as a spare, you must have a sealed bottle. Right, now onto some other things. Now this is some grease for your shackles and stuff. Look, you don't need to bring that as spare parts. Okay, if you want to, you can, but you don't really need to. So I'll put this over here. Then we have WD spray, water displacement spray. Now this is also handy for anti-seize stuff. So when you're working on things or you're taking your spare parts off, you need this kind of stuff to help you. Brake cleaner. Now this one here is a really good one. Expensive stuff, but really good. It evaporates. But look, just any brake cleaner, you will need that. Then we have contact cleaner. This is for your electrical stuff. So rather than using water displacement to clean your electrical contacts, use contact cleaner. And that is something I've only just figured out recently. Well, that's most of the spray cans and liquids out of the way, but I do have this one here. This is a window washer. And I never used to bring window washer, but now I do. So I definitely recommend bringing window washer because the amount of times we drive into the sunset, you really get blinded. So clean your windows, there's bugs and crap, all kinds of stuff out here, especially when you go to destinations, that's when you're gonna get most of your bugs. Genuine stuff, quality stuff versus cheap stuff. Look, spare parts, a lot of people have the mindset of, look, I'm just gonna get the cheap CVs or the cheap fuel filters and whatnot because it's just a spare. I would highly suggest you get the proper genuine stuff. Then you're not gonna have any, you know you're not gonna have any trouble because it's made for your particular vehicle. Electrics. I have a lot of wires and stuff in here. I don't need to bring spare wire for electrics because if I need a wire to put something together that I really need, then I can pinch it from something that I don't really need. So that's the way I look at it. Also spare parts, fuses, bring your spare fuses, your blade fuses, make sure you got your vehicle specific ones, get underneath your footwell or inside your engine bay and work out which are the important ones and what size they are and just buy them. They are so cheap, just get them. I'm back in Perth now, back from the goldfields. I'm at PDP. I'm going to get Travis to hop in now. How you going, Travis?
Yeah, good, thanks, Ronnie.
Now we've had a look at everything here and we're just going to go through some extra things. I've added one thing, you've added some more things and brought up some things I should probably mention. So we'll start with the fuel filter because I only brought the one, but you recommend taking two because I have two.
Fuel contamination, I'll definitely have two. Worthwhile.
I went with the idea of just carry one because I can bypass the second filter, but it's just easier to carry that one.
Yeah, depends if you get it early enough, you can just replace one, and if it's bad enough, replace two.
Wheel bearings, you mentioned something, like these are full kits, but they are missing something.
Look, with the wheel bearings, yeah, also check it's got your axle seals in there, especially the rears on these, and they are the right wheel bearings. Check your gaskets and stuff like that, and pre-pack them as well. It's always easy to do at home. And if you forget the grease,
I'll pre-grease them.
Pre-grease them. It's easy to pack it at home and they're ready to go.
But if we pre-grease them, still to bring grease to put into the...
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But, I mean, get out of jail.
The job's half done.
The grease falls over, the job's half done. Less
Okay.
chance of contamination as well at home in a clean environment.
At least you can get home then.
Yeah.
All right. The nuts and bolts, I mean, there's not much to add here.
Yeah, just a bit of a vast collection, usually suitable to your car.
With the wheel nuts, I like your cool idea because I didn't even think about it. I had 2 separate bags, but you mentioned that we could.
Yeah, screw them together, keep them together, keeps all the threads clean, and then when you go to find it, you got more chance of finding it as well. So.
Yeah, just the fact that they're going to be clean and
Plus,
protected.
you know, if it comes off that, it's going to screw onto your wheel stud, not someone's chucked an oddball when you just go to wind it on, and
That's not a bad one actually.
seen it happen.
I didn't show clamps earlier, but I do have clamps, but also clamps on their own in case you over tighten
Yeah, you've
the ones
got a
that are on.
backup plan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've got a
definitely.
backup.
Top and bottom hoses and whatever's suitable to your vehicle as well again.
Hose wise, yeah.
I see the other thing, you've got a bit of fuel hose as well.
Yeah, which I don't have, but I am going to put in a kit now.
Yeah, so if it's long enough, you can use it as a siphon hose. Some people have a siphon hose, but if you've got fuel hose, can be a siphon hose. Could use it as a funnel, as a drain hose, trying to get oil into your gearboxes or anything like that. It's pretty universal. While it's still clean, you can use it for water or anything.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
you want to make sure you haven't used it for fuel
Yeah.
before you
but obviously
use it for
it's
water.
designed, you're making it as a get out of jail card.
Serpentine belt.
Yeah, one big thing I'd say with that is make sure, if you have got one, the pattern that how it goes on and comes off, and the tools. A lot of people take it off, don't know how it goes back on. It's usually not in your owner's manual. Maybe photo or Google, draw a picture.
Take a photo of your phone before you take it off.
Because most people look at it and go, oh.
Yeah. The only issue is if it come off, and that's why you need to put it on.
Yeah.
But then
That's what I
hopefully
say.
you got a companion with the same car.
Well,
Hopefully.
You'd be lucky, yeah. That's what I say. If you're preparing for it, yeah, make sure you know which way it goes.
All right, so something I've added. Now, I have a bit of bad experiences in the past with ARB air lockers or any air lockers really. You will get a leak at some point with your hose, so spare nylon hose.
Yeah, and then the joiners. Just
Actually,
quick connect.
joiners, yeah.
Just the
Joiners would be good.
Yeah, compression fitting joiners, they're always good, handy to have. If you blow a leak, you quickly, doesn't matter how, untidy
Yeah.
it looks, but if it gets you out of a sticky situation quickly, keeps that locker in when you need it.
Just to say again, now I'm not including cable ties and stuff into your spare parts kit because cable ties and duct tape should be in your car anyway. But just thought I'd mention it here. So there's probably a lot of little things that I'm not mentioning. That's because I don't consider them part of the spare kit. They should be in your toolkit. Air filter. Now,
Yeah, spare ones,
Yeah.
always,
I don't carry a spare because I'm usually at the front, but you mentioned that I should probably carry a spare anyway.
It's always handy. I mean, if you've got a K&N, you can dry it out. If you've got a paper filter and it gets wet,
You can dry it,
You can dry
yeah.
it, but you're not going far without it wet. But that's
No.
what I'd say, a pre-filter on your
Yeah,
ram
these-
head. If
these
you're
two
running
grab,
a
yeah.
snorkel, run them. It's a visual, you can see it from outside of the vehicle as well.
Yeah, because
this
these
is-
will get dirty on the
Yeah,
outside.
correct, yeah. And they're cleanable as well, and they don't take up much room. Obviously,
What-
you can have 3 of these, and it still doesn't take up much room as an air cleaner.
All right, well, let's get to the oils. Just to run you through, because I've already run these guys through. Obviously, motor oil, that
Yes.
suits the vehicle.
Yep.
I've explained a lot about how some of these can actually suit a petrol engine as well.
Yeah,
Possibly.
multi-purpose, yeah.
Yes. And trans oil. Now, this isn't something that I will carry, but if there's a big group of us and someone has an auto, then we carry the trans oil.
It's going to get you home.
Yep. Otherwise, there's the smaller bottles.
Yeah, just
the
power
gear oil.
steering or, yeah.
Coolant. This is concentrate. So what's your thoughts on coolant?
Look, as long as it's suited for the car, but
Mm-hmm.
the problem is usually, you can use water, distilled water, bottled water. If it was
To get you home.
to
yeah.
get you home, I mean, look, if you're out in the tracks, and obviously you can see sort of fair bit of lubricants and oils for a big trip. There's one I'd probably leave behind. I'd leave this at home.
This one?
Yeah, because you're generally going to have some form of liquid water,
And probably this one if you don't have an auto.
and you don't have an auto. Yeah, correct. But and then the same goes as well with that piece of hose that we mentioned before. You could use it as an auto transcooler hose because they're usually low and vulnerable, or power steering. They're the ones that are going to take lines out, and you're going to lose a lot of fluid.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that's where that hose comes
so
back
the hose
into play.
comes back into play, yeah. So maybe
So-
a good length of it then.
Well, yeah, it's always
Metre?
gonna be- Yeah, I think a metre should be enough.
Metre
yeah.
should be enough. All right, so put these away. Moving on. Yeah, brake fluid, obviously would need this. I have explained about the how to have water absorbent properties.
Yes, Jules.
So LSD oil, I also explained that one. how you can use an LSD oil in most vehicles, but you
Yes.
can't, not the other way around.
You're always better to have the more up spec, product. You'll generally cover the lower.
That's
lower
where your
end
hose
of-
comes in again, eh?
Yeah, because obviously this stalk here, you turn that, pop it up, but
May not be long enough.
in a
sometimes.
diff, you'll get it into
Yeah,
a diff.
but
But
like with
obviously
the
a
gearbox and stuff.
transmission, you'll have fun. Yeah.
Yes, fun.
So I'll let you explain that one.
Okay, so I've got these here just to show you what not to do. You actually need a can opener to open this.
It looks like a tin of varnish.
Yeah, and you need a pump as well. So this is a style not to get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get something that's serviceable that's going to work.
And then we've got this one here, looks like paint thinners.
Yeah. Manual trans, same thing. There's no
Yeah.
stalk at all on that one. You can't even squeeze the tin. So obviously when you get to this one, you pop it up, comes up to about here, you tip it and you can
Yeah.
squeeze it, get the air and squeeze it a bit more. You've got,
No.
yeah, not much chance.
Yep. So
It's going to be in your armpit.
do not bring these with you because they're not going to do any good.
The greases, the lubricants.
But this one here, like that's the one I'll probably leave out for your
Yeah,
shackles
yeah.
and
I
stuff.
mean, if you have to lubricate, you can use a general purpose high temp, wheel bearing grease if you have to lubricate something. But all of that should
Okay.
be lubricated before you go away. It depends on how many Ks you're doing, but the wheel bearing grease is what I'd be.
Yep.
That's more critical.
So contact cleaner is this one. So I used to use WD-40 or WD, water displacement, to clean contacts, but I have been told not to do it numerous times in the comments. So I've looked into it more, and contact cleaner is definitely the...
Yeah, it's not harsh. It won't take off your varnishes, depending on what you're spraying it on. If it's not a delicate item, I mean,
Yeah.
you can sort of get away with a fair bit. But
yeah. For alternators and outside connections,
yeah, especially on the 70s.
especially on 70s, yep. WD,
Yeah,
anti-seize, pretty much used for anything almost.
yeah. Give
Start
it
a
a
fire.
general purpose, especially if you've been in the mud, clean everything down, a bit of a spray here, there, keeps everything lubricated so when you service things comes off.
I'll let you talk about this one because you recommended this one to me, and I helped a Ford Ranger out with one of those.
Yeah, look,
Use the
I mean,
whole
it's
can.
a product I use a lot of in the shop here, just given that it's...
He cleans the floor with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's flash dry, it's solvent based, it doesn't leave a residue, it's quick and easy to clean. Catch cans, service that with it, intakes.
right, yeah.
You start a car with it if you have to, obviously.
Yeah.
Whereas people have that, what do you call, start your bastard or that sort of thing, depending
yeah,
on petrols, water crossings. Yeah, you can start. It is flammable. So
I also cleaned out a turbo and an air filter, well, air box with this
Yeah.
that was contaminated.
probably the favourite bit with that is it actually has a range that'll squirt out. It's got good,
Yeah, it does have a good
pressure behind it. It's not a mist, it's actually a squirt. So wheel
Alright.
bearings or something on the side of the track or whatever, you've got dirt and grime, it's good for cleaning.
Inox, one of my
Inox,
favourites.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably the best general spray over. I think it's your friend. Keep coming undone and stop things from seizing underneath.
So it's like a WD-40 kinda.
It's probably got a bit more oil
It's more oil.
residue, hasn't it?
It leaves a film, so you can it makes it easy to clean your car down. But as a spare part kit, I'd still recommend bringing it because it's like a preventative spray more than anything.
One thing you can see, you've still got the nozzle in there.
It's a nozzle on there, yep.
Which usually gets lost. And the last one, window cleaner, so
Yeah.
you can see where you're driving.
Yeah.
It's
As you
probably-
can see, I've used it a fair bit too.
probably one of my pet hates. Obviously, can't see where you drive. Doesn't matter how good your window washers are if you've got dust on the inside of your window.
Anything you'd add to this?
You've got to draw the line in the sand somewhere.
Yeah. I think most people draw the line somewhere here, but
I mean-
with the amount of stuff that I've gone through and things.
And as well, I suppose what we've talked about and touched about today is we try to cover a vast array of cars, whereas obviously you can narrow it right down to your specific needs. And also you may not need 4 litres, you only need a litre, or you might only leave 500 mils. But I mean, I suppose well-planned maintenance and just knowing your
I suppose
vehicle,
that's the other thing. Maintenance before you go, you check everything out.
Yeah, make sure everything's good. I mean, the other thing, I suppose, things that are consumable and do have a bit of a shelf life, brake fluid, if you don't want to keep it in the car for 2 years if it has been opened. I mean, you might have touched on that before.
Yeah, I
Ronnie.
touched on that already.
The other thing is too, the drive belt. We see guys coming, they've got an 80 series Land Cruiser.
Oh, it's been there for 8 years or something.
Oh, even longer.
10 years
You pull it out, the belt just about snaps. It's been in the rear quarter panel of the car guard, and it's never been used. So
I suppose your spare parts is all where you store them. You can put them in all your little nooks and crannies on your vehicle. Obviously not oils because these will be used more than anything. But all your fan belts, your your hoses, tuck them in somewhere.
Yeah.
In between the body panels maybe, somewhere where they're going to be safe.
Group
or
them together as well.
Bottom
so
of the
that-
toolbox, somewhere
Yeah.
you don't need to get to.
Yeah.
Because if you need your spare part, you're not going to care. You have to pull everything out
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
to it.
So, I mean, look, you don't plan on really having to use it, but it's
No.
good to be self-sufficient. And
Definitely. All right, thanks for your time.
no worries, Ronnie.
Cheers.
See you again.
Catch ya.
Cheers.
Well, thanks for watching the spare parts video. Look, I didn't include cable ties and things like that because that is part of a different video. That's like the miscellaneous things that you could bring. Otherwise this video will go forever. And of course, if I left any spare parts out, or if there's spare parts specific that you bring on your trips, or any situations you like to talk about, comments down below. You can subscribe here and you can support the creation of content like this up here. And stay tuned for more tutorial videos and adventure videos. See ya.